So, welcome back to a new episode. I hope you've all been keeping well and been enjoying the summer. We've had an amazing summer here down the south coast of England with week after week of sunshine, so it's been really great to get outdoors and enjoy it. But I'm back with part 2 of pixel art, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy this one because we're actually going to create your very first character today. Also, good news is that I have a new capture card, which means that I can actually record footage from my real Amiga 600. That will be the very same machine that I restored in some of the first videos that I made for this channel. So really excited that you're actually going to be able to see the real proper McCoy, as it were, with this video. And the other thing is that we're going to still be using a hybrid approach, except this time we won't be using a graphics tablet and my modern day Macintosh as well as the Amiga. We're actually going to use paper and the real Amiga 600, so still a hybrid approach, but I did have some feedback that people were surprised that I was using a modern day graphics tablet with a modern day Apple Macintosh, but the real key thing about this series is there is nothing about what we're doing that can't be applied to the modern day, for modern day game art, for modern day illustration, as well as obviously reaching back into our past and creating fantastic new creations for those systems that we hold dear. So sit back, relax. I think you're really going to enjoy this, yeah, very excited that you're going to be creating your very first pixel art character today. So sit back, it's going to be fun, and all it remains for me to say is see you soon. Bye. So to start with, the best way to start is not on a computer at all. It's easy when you previously struggled creating pixel art to start with some graph paper with large squares on it so that you can colour it in with a pen. Often the reason so many enthusiastic souls have come away thinking they are unable to do pixel art is because they have loaded up their paint package and seen lots of tools and colours, so we need to simplify things. We will be using nothing more than a brush tool and a magnifier, and not even colour for this episode. When I used to create pixel art back in the 90s, I used to create some proto characters which were just simple characters which were black and white outlines. From this starting block is where I could then develop each character. Over the course of these tutorials, we will build a new proto character which will include animating aspects to their character, such as walking and turning. Using a graph paper that you can download and print at home, I've labelled the columns 1 to 16 along the horizontal axes and up to 32 along the side. I'm keeping my sprites 16 pixels wide because they are quicker for my 16-bit Amiga to render on screen, and it also fits in better with the original Amiga chipset's sprite capabilities. As the Amiga can support sprites of any height, 32 pixels high is a good multiple. Using a pencil perhaps to start with, you can use your imagination of how you will create your character, shading the squares to represent a pixel. I'm mimicking the traditional 16-bit JRPG style of character here, a bit like what you would see in Secret of Mana, Illusion of Time, or Final Fantasy. I've also added a shadow to the bottom of the sprite. You will find this a lot easier to create your character and then immediately working on the screen. Take your time and don't feel pressured that you have to be great from the start. This is something you're going to learn over time, and you will only learn it through practice. Before we put any pixels down, I want to explain why we'll not be using colour yet. We are going to use any 4 shades from white to black. The black will be our outline, the dark grey our shadows, the lighter grey our midtones, and finally the white being the highlights. Using 4 shades will allow us to concentrate on the form of the pixel art and remove the complication of applying tone with colour at this stage. This little slideshow is to recap what I said last time in part 1. Consider your direction of light. This is very important to creating pixel art with dimension and depth, as well as professionalism. There is nothing that can stop you creating something with only black and white, but the likelihood is that you'll want to create something with dimension in your artwork. When you know where your light is coming from, you will know where you're shading your artwork. This cube simplifies it greatly, but the same will apply to our character. You'll see here that the simple outline on the left, followed by a character with basic shading applied. The basic shading in this example suggests the light is in front of our character, rather than distinctly over to one side. The final character is fully shaded. Whilst the pixels are now scattered about, they are not accidental in their position, and their placement was based off the initial shading in the middle character. Finally, when creating a game or any pixel art, you want to make it look consistent, and for this you will need to know your angle of view. The bottom characters are from 3 perspectives, the leftmost being a 45-degree angle looking down, a bit like most JRPGs like Secret of Mana and Chrono Trigger or other games like the Chaos Engine. The rightmost example is a top-down view, where we're situated pretty much overhead of the character. The middle character is somewhat in between the two. This is important to understand what you want, and then apply this consistently. The only view missing from here is the straight-on view, used in most platforms like Mario, and other games like Robocop and Super Castlevania 4, and so forth. So let's draw. Just a little bit about my character here. You'll notice the place on the eyes is quite low and exaggerated head. This is because when we shade it, this is a 45-degree angle view, so we'll be seeing the crown of the head, and this will have hair coming from the character. So whilst it may look like a slightly exaggerated alien head, we're just giving ourselves space to work with. Just a little note on colour palettes now. It's really important not to use the first colour on retro systems like the Amiga. Why? Because when it comes to sprites, this will be the transparent colour. So at the moment there are 2 whites in my colour palette, but I will explain that in due course. For now I'm going to change colour 1 or 0 as the Amiga sees it, to a pink shade that I won't be using anywhere else in this graphic, and it isn't too harsh for my eyes to work against. Next, I applied a basic shading to the character. I'm retaining front light on this character, so I'll be shading the shadows on the left with the less strong shadows on the right hand side, and the front will be the brightest part of the character due to the front light, and that is where the light is coming from, so that becomes white. So now the detail. This is a bit where it's going to need some practice, folks, but here are some tips though. First, you'll notice that in none of these steps so far I've not used a tool other than a simple brush. No lines, no circles, and so forth. There is no rule, but I find pixeling easier with a simple brush tool. When placing detail down on my characters, I also start with the crown of the head, with the hair parting, as for some reason this helps me with the detailing. I always feel better when I have my character's hairstyle in place. Remember your shading. Predominantly we will have some darker shades on the left and lighter shades on the middle and the right of the character, but there will be light wrapping around, hence some of the light grey pixels, and even white appear in the shadows. The rest is going to be according to your design, and the limited amount of space you have for pixels will really concentrate your mind. As we started out on paper, you did the hardest part first, getting your actual characters to fit before we started on the computer. So if you created a cat, you can now see it's possible to get some shading on its tail, and so forth. You're not going to be able to paint an entire outfit for our characters, but we can suggest outfits. I've created a character with a bit of a two-piece going on, a crop top and some trousers, but without colour there isn't much to suggest that right now. You will see that I continuously change where I place pixels, trying out positions and then reverting. Feel free to experiment. I do it all the time, and as a consequence I get it wrong all of the time too, but that is trial and error for you. Now that the pixel art is complete, I'm going to show you why avoiding using colour 0 is important, unless you want part of your design to be the see-through part or the transparent part. I've created 2 seemingly identical characters, one which avoids using colour 0 for shading, and the second which has colour 0 for shading. Let's see the effect that this has. To show this effect, I've created a small Blitz Basic program. This will open the Blitz screen, which will have 4 coloured boxes on it in varying colours. Top one will be white and both characters will look the same. However, as both characters proceed down the screen over the top of the 4 coloured boxes, you will see how the right hand character's transparency enables the coloured boxes below to show through. This is the effect that we don't want. This is why it's so important to avoid using colour 0 when creating your sprite and tile artwork. I really hope you've enjoyed this episode. In the next episode we're going to look at starting to animate our character. If you have any further questions, do leave me comments down below. You may also consider joining the English Amiga board, which has excellent forums on Blitz Basic, should you be interested in this part of what I've been talking about today. I guess all it remains for me to say is see you soon. Bye!